We chose Lior Suchard's shows as the subject of our videos, because even though we see him as an illusionist, he claims that what he does is not a trick.
My name is Lior Suchard. I'm a real-life mentalist, mind reader, working with people's minds. I'm not a magician, I'm not an illusionist. I understand how people think. Again, these are not illusions and these are not tricks.
Principles of underground psychology, non-verbal communication.
So I know how to influence people, I know how to read people's minds. I'm using energy to move objects without touching them.
In the previous video, we explained how a charlatan named Lior Suchard moves glasses. We will reveal another of the charlatan Lior Suchard's lies, who claims that what he does is not an illusion, and that he performs his shows using some superpowers. This time, our man performs the fork-spoon bending show that Uri Geller used to do. Here, we will divide the show into several parts and examine it. First, the show where the fork he holds in his hand is bent in front of everyone. Then the second show where one of the fork's nails is bent. And finally, the third show where a fork is bent by twisting. Let's start with the first show. Suchard bends the fork in advance with a sleight of hand. He bent it at this moment. Then he puts the bent fork in his hand. He holds the fork by making a concave shape in his hand so that it is not obvious that the fork is already bent. Then he opens his fingers and flattens his hand so that it is clearly visible that the fork is bent. He also bends the already bent fork he holds in his hand downwards, giving the impression that it is bent at that moment. In the second show, he bends only one nail of the fork. He uses the same technique in this one. Bending a nail is easier than bending a fork. Again, he bends the nail first. When he picks up the fork, he starts shaking it rapidly so that it is not obvious that it is already bent. After shaking the fork rapidly for a while, he slows down and the bent nail is clearly seen. The people next to him think that this is happening at that moment. Finally, he came to the show where the fork is bent by twisting. He gives the fork to an assistant and rotates it in his hand. When the assistant opens his hand, it is seen that the fork is bent by twisting. There is again a very simple explanation for this event. Illusionists use a hard tool to twist and bend forks and spoons in this way. With this tool, which can be easily hidden in the hand, spoons and forks can be twisted very easily. Lior bends the fork right here and places it in the assistant's hand in a way that prevents him from seeing it. In other words, he bends the fork again in the first stage of the show. The audience thinks it is bent at that moment. Again, we have exposed the lies of the illusion tricks that charlatan Lior Suchard claims to do using his superior paranormal abilities. See you in the next video.